It is, of course, so good to be with you and to be a part of worship with you. If you're watching online with us today, we're so glad you're a part of our congregation today. God bless you. Hope you are enjoying the worship experience as well. And I know that many of us had an opportunity to catch up with family, make some short trips, some long trips, flights and whatever that happened over the last few days. God bless you. So glad we're back together. And here we are looking forward to what we'll be talking about in the Advent season. But I want to begin by asking if you all know what the texting abbreviation, and when I use that term, I know you know what I'm talking about, the texting abbreviation OOTO stands for. Back a while ago, I was driving in my car, heard a car talk show, and there was some older guys that were the talk show, and they were like, can you believe this whole new language that the young kids have come up with? It's only like 3 letters, and it means 17 words. And they were talking about it, and he said, well, we decided we're going to keep up with them, and we're going to do some too. And so they came up with a list of senior citizen text abbreviations. Keeping up with the young people. It's important. An entire new language so the first one they shared several, and I'm just going to share a couple. FWIW. Forgot where I was. BTW. Bring the wheelchair. LOL. Living on Lipitor. OMG. Oi, my grandchildren. Before we're done today, you're going to know what OOTO stands for. Today we're going to begin the time of the Christian year known as Advent. And again, the candle being lit. And we'll be lit a second one next week, a third, a fourth. And then on Christmas Eve, and of course on Christmas Day, which by the way is a Sunday this year. Start making your plans. Yay! Yay! The white candle will be part of that celebrating Christmas Eve and into Christmas Day. It's a beautiful, beautiful symbol for us. Actually, this is the beginning of the Christian year. I mean, I want you to imagine, the huge crystal ball slowly descending. 10, 9, 8, you know the scene. I probably should have begun the sermon by just simply coming in and yelling, Happy New Year! Because today is a wonderful first day of the year for us as Christians. Advent is a wonderful and a powerful time for teaching in the life of the church. Unfortunately, Advent is perhaps the most lost celebration of the Christian year, precisely because it does lead up to Christmas. I know you have noticed all the Christmas carols. It's almost like the day after what? Halloween? Boom, all the music changed to Christmas carols. And here we are, and all the commercials that you see are Christmas commercials. Pam and I have commented at times that it's the Christmas commercials, they all start right after Halloween, and it's almost as bad as all the political commercials that we had to deal with just a few weeks ago. And it's too bad that for some, by the time we get to Christmas, we're almost sick and tired of Christmas by the time we get there. I want to emphasize that the time of Advent is not about preparing our hearts for Christmas Day. That's not what Advent is about. There's another lesson, another teaching, another truth at this time. And the best part, this truth is not seasonal at all. Not at all. Advent is placed at this time of the year because it is closely related to, but dramatically contrasted with the first coming of Jesus to earth. So, Advent is not primarily about Jesus coming to Bethlehem as a baby. Advent is primarily about Jesus Christ, Lord of Lords, coming to all the world as King. Just the other day, I noticed on the television a rerun of a movie that was called The Day After Tomorrow. I don't know if you remember it or not. It was kind of a climate change movie where the whole world turns into a block of ice almost, and The Day After Tomorrow. But there was another The Day After movie back in the 80s, and of course the big fear back then was nuclear war, and so it was the day after the buttons got pushed. And it was showing how things will be the, obviously, day after. and how it will all be so different than it was on the day of the big event. Life will never be the same. It is almost as if time will stand still. That was definitely a day after the big event at Bethlehem 2,000 years ago. Of course it was a day after the big event. Everything changed, though, from that day forward, but most of the world didn't even appreciate the events that had happened that quiet, silent, holy night. I think one of the clear messages of the text that we're going to read in a moment for today is that there won't be a day after the big event Jesus is talking about. Life will not continue on as usual. The common saying is that time will be no more. So I want to again say Jesus' first coming to Bethlehem was a day of humility, of mercy, of gifts. Jesus' second coming will be a day of power and judgment and rewards. I want to use Jesus' words to shape our thoughts for today. So let me invite you to stand as you're able and hear a passage out of Matthew. Listen as I read from Matthew chapter 24, 36 to 42. You read as I read. But of that day and hour no one knows, not even the angels of heaven, nor the Son, but the Father only. As were the days of Noah, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. For as in those days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day when Noah entered the ark. And they did not know until the flood came and swept them all away. So will be the coming of the Son of Man. Then 2 men will be in the field. One is taken, one is left. 2 women will be grinding at the mill. One is taken, one is left. Watch, therefore, for you do not know on what day your Lord is coming. This is God's word for us today, and our response is thanks be to God. Please be seated. So obviously, you've gathered this already. Jesus is preaching about the second coming. And he uses a strange text to set up his teaching. He goes back a few thousand years to set the stage for an event a few thousand years into the future. What does he say? As in the days of Noah. So let me just ask, how many of you here believe, and I take a deep breath, really believe the story of Noah and the ark? I'm not even sure I understand nearly all the story, and I'm not sure it can all be proved scientifically or archaeologically, but I want to say, and I want to go on record today saying, I really do believe the story of Noah and the ark. I believe that flood story. Noah and his family and animals coming 2 by 2, some miraculous way, rain falling for 40 days and 40 nights, and fountains just gushing up out of the rocks. A devastating flood. I believe it all. And you want to know why I believe it all? Again, not because you can absolutely prove it scientifically or even archaeologically. I believe it because I believe Jesus believed it. And I refuse to believe that Jesus would be somebody that could say, we know it's not all true, but I'm going to tell you, pretend like it's true, and be this kind of a sleight of hand kind of a storyteller. I refuse to put Jesus in that category. So I believe it because Jesus believed it. And we can see from today's text, Jesus knew that those listening that day believed it. And this is one of those Bible stories that you can kind of roll into with almost anybody, anywhere, and they're going to know some parts of it. They're going to know some parts of the story, whether they got it right or not, beside the point. So, did you hear the one about how was it that Jonah made all those animals behave on the ark? Just checking if you're listening, that's all. Some of you went, he just said Jonah instead of Noah. Oh, no. Just checking, seeing if you're listening. Why did Jesus use this story of Noah to help describe the day of his second coming? Well, one reason I already alluded to was the fact there was no day after the flood, except for 8 persons and a bunch of animals. The opportunity was offered to the people. But the Bible tells us that those who believed were saved, and those who didn't believe died. I mean, this isn't necessarily deep theology. It was deep water, but I mean, not necessarily deep theology. There is one reason, that may be one reason why Jesus uses the Noah story. But is there another reason? I think so. I think the key is in verse 37 that we read just a moment ago. As in those days of Noah. How were those days described? Well, they were described basically in 2 different similar but contrasting ways. They were eating and drinking. They were marrying and giving in marriage. Both of those are very ordinary descriptions of very ordinary events. Jesus is saying that in those days before the flood, people were just doing their everyday, ordinary stuff. Can't you just see it? Noah's out there building on this hillside or wherever place on the plain big enough. He's out there building this boat. I mean, we're talking a huge boat. And there are others that are probably out, around the area, overlooking the construction site, having a picnic, having a hillside watch, and laughing. Who knows? Maybe the site of the ark became kind of like, going to the Poconos, or going to Gatlinburg, or, on honeymoon, let's go to Niagara. Hey, honey, let's go to the ark for our honeymoon. Who knows? But these are just ordinary things. Ordinary events, ordinary life, but they represent 2 very different aspects of ordinary life. And maybe you heard it, maybe you didn't. First, there is just the now part, the current part. No major decisions, just kind of everyday existence. They were eating and they were drinking, just kind of going through life. But then also it said there were big decisions being made, future plans, course of life, as described as they were marrying and they were giving in marriage. Today it might come down to they were making college decisions. They were making job/career decisions. They were planning out their retirement. All of that kind of fits into this category. They were doing ordinary stuff, but they were totally oblivious to what was happening right in front of their eyes. Now, some may have been taunting. Who knows? I'm certain they probably were. Can't you hear them yelling out to Noah and saying, sure, we'll believe you. Just show us one drop of rain. Because Noah's building an ark, a boat, in a land of no rain, much less floods. But, when the first drop came, the door to the ark was already closed. Advent is a time for us to dwell on one of the, I would venture to say, one of the greatest claims of our faith. What do I mean? Okay, Jesus was born. Jesus lived. Jesus was crucified. Because of Jesus being crucified, Jesus died. Jesus rose again. And all of those things about his life can be proven to some degree or another, absolutely proven. But Jesus will come again someday. Huh? Sure. How do you know? Can you prove it? Why should I believe that? Too many of us, I fear, live today without being fully surrendered to this very important truth of our faith. This is a hard one. This is a really hard one. Perhaps this is the hardest one to believe, but it is key to our faith and to our lives as Christians. This, I believe, is the rock bottom of walk by faith. This is the foundation of walk by faith. Again, it is almost too bad that it's connected with this time of the year. So I'm putting together this sermon and a thought comes to me and I'm thinking, nah, you can't say that. But then I thought, what are they going to do? Fire me? I retire in 6 months. So, I'm just going to say it. Listen to this. I'll say it twice, but listen to it. Could it be that all the focus on Bethlehem and the little baby born in a manger is one of Satan's biggest tricks at this time of the year? Let me say that again. Could it be that all the focus on Bethlehem and the little baby born in a manger is one of Satan's biggest tricks at this time of the year? And let me explain, because some of you are going, what did he just say? Did Satan just hijack Bethlehem? Think about it. Satan can't lie about Bethlehem. Satan cannot lie about Bethlehem. The whole world accepts that it is true. We all know it happened. He doesn't ever try to make us think that Jesus was never born. By the way, it doesn't take a lot of courage to say that Jesus was born in a manger 2,000 years ago either. After all, it is the historical reason. There's been a whole lot of other stuff thrown on top of it, but it is the historical reason for Christmas. Satan knows that a lot of people believe Jesus was born, and it doesn't impact their lives at all. Not at all. It takes courage to stay focused on Jesus through this Christmas season and not give in to all the other stuff that comes with it. On the other hand, though, Satan does try to make us doubt Jesus is coming again. What does he say? Hey, whoa, just live for today. Just live for today like ordinary. In fact, even live for tomorrow like ordinary. Who's going to say otherwise? Let me ask, do you believe Jesus is coming again? Really? Because it takes faith to believe in the second coming of Jesus and to live your life today based on a conviction about someday. It takes faith to believe in the second coming of Jesus and to live your life today based on a conviction about someday. Some people may be saying, if God would just show me what He wants me to do, I'll do it. I'll gladly do it. I will follow. Or I get so frustrated at times, I feel like I'm just wasting my life. I don't know if I'm supposed to be doing this or that. Was I called into ministry? Am I too old to go into ministry? Am I too young to be in ministry of some sort? Friends, we are to live, here it comes, OOTO, out of the ordinary. You're probably never going to see that on your phone, but that's okay. That means to live today in light of a great someday. And it takes courage to live today in a manner that knows Jesus is coming again someday. So I already kind of stuck my foot in it with the whole Satan thing, so let me just keep on going. Hang in there with me, okay? You're a single person, maybe a teenager, maybe not, any age. You're out on a date. Hormones are starting to kick in. Thoughts are starting to wander, maybe even wander all the way to some actions. And then one person just suddenly says, no, wait a minute, I won't have sex before marriage. And the other one says, why not? Because Jesus is coming again. Whew. Oh, okay. It's April. It's almost tax day. And you know that you could get away with that, but you're not going to. Why? Because Jesus is coming again. I'm preparing my will as deciding what my legacy of any sort will be. Am I going to give all of my money to my children who already have way too much money? Or am I going to make a difference in some institution or some church or some organization? I'm choosing a life partner. No, I will not marry a person who is not a follower of Jesus Christ. Why? Because Jesus is coming again someday. In Noah's day, even the future decisions, the life-shaping ones, were made as though, it was just all just ordinary. We must live today with an eye on the lens of tomorrow and with our hearts set on someday. Our decisions cannot be me-based, but Jesus-based. Friends, there is no greater joy than a life lived to serve the Lord today. Now, there's some of the older folks in the room that may be going, I sure hope the young people are listening to this because they got their whole lives in front of them and this could really shape their lives. How about the middle-aged and the senior adults that are in our crowd today? Because you're still making decisions about future decisions. I mean, important future decisions. How are you going to use your money? What kind of vacations are you going to take? What are you going to do with all the extra time you have as a retiree? Or what's going to help shape your estate planning, the legacy that you'll leave in that realm? Let me read verse 42 again. Watch, therefore, for you do not know on what day your Lord is coming. And you know, I hear the getting old jokes too. You know, it's I don't know if it's a badge of honor or if it's just a kick in the shins, but whatever it is, I start hearing the getting old jokes like, "Don't bother buying green bananas." I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. Who here knows when their last day is? In fact, at this very moment, we all, youngest to oldest, we all have exactly the same amount of time, which boils down to right now. That's all. We've all got exactly the same amount of time on this earth right now. So let me ask the question. If you knew Jesus Christ was going to come again before, and let's just kick it all back a year, before December 2023, what plans would I change? What plans would you try to be sure and get accomplished? Now, I want to be very careful and say, I have no inside track on end times. No, I'm not into that whole prophecy, picking the day, and I'm not into that at all. I am inviting you to use this Advent season as a time to just ask some good questions. Let this be a time of self-examination, spiritual reflection. Ask yourself, what should I be about? For those that this applies to, what kind of parent should I be? And what do I need to do to be that kind of parent? What kind of example do I need to be to my kids, my grandkids, my neighbors, my co-workers? What do I need to do to be providing for my family? What do I need to do to be the student that I know I can be, but quite honestly haven't really turned into yet? Versus just causing discord in my family, spending hours, just kind of burning hours in front of a computer screen and just kind of burning hours in front of a computer screen, or doing everything I can to make a name for myself, or doing everything I can to get as much money as I can. You know, those aren't questions to be asked out of fear, but I do believe they are questions to be asked out of faith. As a Christian, what I believe about tomorrow shapes how I live today. Let me say that again. What I believe about tomorrow shapes how I live today. Let me invite you to just affirm that with me. Let's all say it together. What I believe about tomorrow shapes how I live today. And that is living OOTO, out of the ordinary. So let me invite you to invest some time looking at your life through the lens of someday. Maybe write some things down. Check on those things in a few weeks, a few months, or, God willing, a year from now. And I want to just say to you, if you want to, text me or send me an email. These are some things I'm thinking about. What do you think? And I promise if you invite me to respond, I will. Otherwise, I'll just enjoy reading your thoughts. What a privilege it is to be walking into this new year with our eyes raised just a little higher. Let's pray together. Lord, thank you. Thank you for this new year. Thank you for us being able to look back and just be convinced, oh, so many times and in so many ways, you have blessed us beyond words. We thank you for your presence right here. And we thank you that we don't have to know all